Hey, what's going on, everybody? Justin here, and in this video, I figured I should probably continue on with my sort of best of or top videos of 2019, considering it's the second to last week of April. So, we're kind of approaching the midway point of 2020, and I still got 3 or 4 more categories to go. I have my little list of all the different like genres or categories that I was doing my top videos of. And I still have like 3 or 4 to go. I only did about half of them, so I'm like, yeah, I probably should kind of get those out there before it's like 2021. So here we are. In this video, we're gonna be doing my top 3 exploration books. I'm not even sure what to categorize this as. I kind of jumble exploration, travelogues, adventure, and survival, all kind of like into like one mishmash of a genre. It's something I'm fairly new to. I think I just started reading it last year, but I'm having a lot of fun with it. I think I read about 10 books, kind of like in those like this kind of theme, I guess. Yeah, I'm not sure how to describe it, but I figured, I'm having a lot of fun with it. I'll just share my top 3 books, kind of in this jumble of the category. So let's go ahead and get started. The first book mentioned in a couple other videos before, and it's Greenpeace Captain: My Adventures in Protecting the Future of Our Planet by Peter Wilcox. And this is all about Peter's as captaining the Rainbow Warrior, which is the flagship of Greenpeace. Kind of like a lot of his like kind of favorite like recollections and adventures that he's done with different missions with Greenpeace. Some of them actually being quite dangerous. The most notable one being a fairly recent event a couple years ago when him and his team were essentially captured by the Russian military and just held hostage as kind of vaguely as like spies or insurgents or something. And they were in prison for quite a while until like the international community kind of like pressured them to let them go, since they're just kind of like it's Greenpeace. It's all just about the environment and stuff. One thing I did take away that I really like is how Greenpeace is like super into like ahimsa, like non-violence. Like they don't even really, they avoid property damage like at all costs, so they won't even just like break things just to like stop them from working. Most notably, probably their most like useful tactic is actually just being kind of like being a human that is in the way. So they'll just like place themselves in like harm's way, so like the operations like have to shut down and stuff. And I think it was a lot of fun. The one thing I didn't really like about the book is the author, the captain, kind of does a lot of chest pounding, kind of like it's because like I was the captain, I was able to make these like great decisions. And I'm not saying other captains wouldn't have done it, but wink wink, they probably would have been as good as me and stuff. Yeah, I just tried to like wink, but like the ring light was so bright, it was like a total fail. But other than that, I think the book was really fun, and I have to give him kind of a slide on that, just because he is trying to do his best to protect the environment and nature, and pretty much like all living things. I don't know. I think it's really cool. I do follow, like, I read a little bit about Greenpeace and like other sources like online and stuff. So when I saw it, I was like, yeah, I thought it was gonna be just kind of like a floofy book, but actually some of the operations were pretty serious, and actually what ended up being a lot of fun, like kind of reading about some of these different adventures and ad hoc sort of ways of having to go about things, because a lot of these plans, like, no one's really done them before. So once you start going, you kind of have to like roll the dice and just kind of like roll with it. So I enjoyed Greenpeace Captain, and if that sounds interesting, you should definitely pick it up. All right, next one is definitely on the exploration thing, and it's The Lost City of Z by David Gran, A Tale of Deadly Obsession in the Amazon. This book is all about kind of researching and kind of like a mini biography of the life of Colonel Percy Fawcett, who was probably, I mean, you could probably consider him as like the last great Victorian, explorer, someone who was actually like, mapping out like river systems, and like kind of like country boundaries and stuff, when at the turn of, the turn of the 20th century, some of those things still were kind of like shadowy areas on the map. We had a vague outline of everything, but a lot of the details, in the jungle or whatever, were not, explicitly surveyed and everything. And Percy Fawcett was one of those kind of like part of the last generation of kind of adventure explorers that were doing such things. And the tale of this book, why it's called, A Tale of Deadly Obsession in the Amazon, is Colonel Percy Fawcett and his son and one of his son's friends during one of their, well, obviously their last, kind of mission or objective kind of in the Amazon jungle. They went missing and were never heard from again. So it's kind of dealing with doing all the research to kind of figure out, made probably the most likely course of, like, where they actually went and what happened and things like that. The only problem I had with this one, actually no, I got two like little problems. The first one is there is some like author insert. Like, he decides he's gonna go on a journey in the Amazon and stuff, and he kind of like every now and then like you'll have like 3 or 4 chapters I think, and it was like 2 or 3 pages at the end of like one of them, just like yeah, I eventually decided I flew to the Amazon, and he talks kind of about his perils and stuff for like really briefly, but it's not like the same because he's like driving on roads and like on a 4 track and stuff with guides and everything, and it's just kind of like weird, I guess. I don't. It just didn't really make sense to me. Like it didn't really need to be part of the book really to make any sense. I guess it didn't add anything, is what I should say. And the what was the other thing? I think there was. Oh yes, there's something. There was a term in like books such as these called like the I can't remember if it's exactly the green hell hypothesis or something, but it's kind of, I guess it's not, it's kind of frowned upon now to the way the jungle in the Amazon is described, particularly like something in like this book, is like everything in the Amazon is like out to kill people and stuff, when really it's not. It's just like a wilderness, just like pretty much anywhere else. It's not inherently evil, even though it's sort of described as such, because Victorian explorers such as Percy Fawcett and everything kind of portrayed it in that light, and really it's just like another ecosystem. But anyways, those were pretty small like gripes, I guess, with the book. Overall, it was a lot of fun kind of learning about like the Royal Geographic Society and stuff that Percy Fawcett was part of, and like kind of the training that would involved like over 100 years ago on how to become, literally like Explorer 101, how to be like an adventurer and stuff. I just found it a lot of fun. So yeah, there's 2 other books kind of similar to this one that I've found that I haven't read yet, but I have them on one of my lists. So I think one's like Turn Right at Machu Picchu, or is it Turn Left at Turn Left at Machu Picchu? I can't remember. It's Turn Left, right? And then the other one is like The Lost City of the Monkey God, which are other, I'm assuming, like adventure books, kind of like in this genre, dealing with Central and South America, kind of like going through the jungle and who knows what. So, anyways, there's The Lost City of Z. And for my favorite one, it's going to be this is definitely going to be a weird one, and it's The Extraordinary Voyage of Pythias the Greek by Barry Cunliffe. And this is all about a Greek from Massalia. In the, I can't, if it was I want to say the fourth or 5th century BCE, maybe it was 6th century BCE. I can't remember exactly off the top of my head. But it was Pythias, in the Massalia. If you guys know where Marseille, France is, that's essentially like Massalia was the first. That was a terrible description. Massalia essentially became Marseille like over time. Is how I should say it. However, Pythias kind of journeyed through like the Gallic Celtic territories, through Western Europe all the way to Thule, and it's kind of debated whether Thule is sort of like northern, like kind of Scotland-ish area, or is it actually Iceland, like a lot of people believe, and that's kind of debated in the book. You guys can read it for yourselves and decide on kind of what the evidence supports and everything. Why I thought this was my favorite kind of like adventure-ish book is it's almost like it's like an ancient kind of like travelogue, because we don't obviously have that much about Pythias that's come down to us. He actually wrote several books, but none of them have survived. Mostly just quotations from Strabo, the geographer, but Strabo kind of tries to, kind of cast shade on Pythias every chance he gets, because if Pythias looks good, it makes Strabo kind of not look as cool and stuff. But anyways, it's kind of a fun travelogue because the author, who is like kind of a leading expert on the Celts, I think he has several other books on the Celts. Basically, each area, like when we kind of go to like a distinct area, the author kind of describes probably the most likely way Pythias would have traveled through Western Europe and then to the coast of England and then possibly to Iceland and stuff. We have different like little vignettes on archaeological finds and like kind of archaeological excavation sites, as well as just kind of history on the different cultures of the different, quote unquote barbarian tribes, the Gallic tribes that he probably encountered and stuff, and then also all the science between like some of the measurements that have come down to us, between like I think it was like Ptolemy and Strabo. Like we can actually pinpoint kind of some of the locations Pythias must have at least been to based on like I said, kind of like, was it longitudinal observations and I don't know, constellations and stuff. Kind of went a little bit over my head. It's been over a year since I read it. I can't remember off the top of my head. But it was kind of interesting learning all like the science behind how we do know for a fact Pythias went to certain locations, to get these sort of measurements. So anyways, I thought it was a lot of fun. It was a great blend of like kind of archaeology, history, and then also kind of like a travel log. So I thought that I always tend to give books that kind of like blend a couple genres together. Usually they get like much higher rankings in my opinion, just because I don't know, they're just a blast to read. I had a lot of fun. If you enjoy travelogues or you enjoy ancient history, especially like classical Greek or Greco-Roman history, this is definitely a book for you, and I encourage you to give it a try. So there you have it. Those are my 3 favorite travel, adventure, exploration type of books, I guess. I do have a lot of fun with this genre, so if you have any suggestions with kind of this theme going on, leave some comments down below. I'd be glad to check them out. Thank you for watching. Hope you guys had a good time. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Check out my Instagram, Twitter, everything like that. And I will be doing a book tour of that new bookshelf I made that I mentioned in another video. We'll be doing that shortly, so hopefully that's coming up soon. And always remember, whatever you're reading, whether it's adventure or exploration or something a little bit more mundane, always remember, read victoriously.